What's good, guys? Hope you guys are good. I'm back with another video, guys. So yeah, guys, on this video, what I'll do is we're gonna be talking about uh candle. We're gonna be talking about candlesticks, patterns, guys. This is what we're gonna be talking about, guys. Candlesticks, patterns. We're gonna be talking about candlestick patterns. Then we're firstly gonna talk about these candlesticks are a way in which you can enter the market um, at certain levels, right? Okay, let's do this. We're gonna talk about an engulfing, an engulfing, engulfing, uh, engulfing candle stick, right? This is an engulfing candlestick, right? So number one, it's an engulfing candlestick. Let me change this. 20. Let's see. Yes, an engulfing candlestick. Then number two, what we're gonna talk about is a railroad pattern. The railroad pattern, right? After railroad pattern, then we're gonna talk about that one. It has to be, it's a morning, it's a morning star. So it's morning star or evening star, right? It's a morning star or evening star. This is that's gonna be number 3. Then then another important candlestick, we're just gonna call it a rejection candle, right? Let's call it rejection candlestick. Rejection candlestick. Let's call it a rejection candlestick. So as you can see, guys, we're gonna look at 4 candlestick pattern, right? The first one is gonna be an engulfing, when we are going up, and when we want to go up. If we want to buy the market, we're gonna look for a bullish engulfing, right? If we are selling, we're gonna look for a bearish engulfing at point of interest, support and resistance, or supply and demand zones. The second thing, we're gonna look for a railroad pattern, right? Railroad pattern. Then we're also gonna look for this at points of interest, support and resistance, supply and demand zones, right? Then the third thing we're gonna do is we're gonna look for excuse me. Okay, we're gonna look for a morning star, right, or evening star. Morning star, it's gonna happen when we are buying at a support zone, or demand zone. When we are selling, we're gonna look for an evening star at a resistance, or on a resistance, or on a supply zone, any point of interest, right, around there. Then we are selling. Then what else we're gonna look for? It's a rejection candlestick, right? As you can see, it's a rejection candlestick. Then what we have to do is we have to, when we are looking for a rejection candlestick, right, um, when we want to buy, we need the market to be rejecting at a support, then at a support or a demand, then create a candlestick that's gonna reject, then change the color to a bullish candlestick. When we are selling, we're gonna look for a selling a bearish candlestick at a resistance or supply zone, which is gonna reject, right? We're gonna see all these examples. Firstly, let's start with a bearish engulfing, right? A bearish engulfing, right? So first of all, let's do as we normally do, is to mark our weekly. Right. So we're gonna look for engulfing candles. I'm gonna make an example about selling, then make an example about buying, right? So let's see. At a resistance, remember we have support and resistance, supply and demand zones, whatever the case you may, whatever you wanna call them, right? You just call them points of interest or areas of interest. It's one and the same thing. um, Remember, if we are looking for support, this is what we're gonna do. Let me just make an example. This is what we're gonna do. On these areas, we are looking for price. When it's at the support, we want the price to go up. When it gets to a resistance, what we're gonna look for is a bearish engulfing. For now, strictly, we're all gonna look for different candlesticks, right? For now, we're gonna look for a bearish engulfing, right? And then the market's gonna do something like this. Then at a support, we're gonna look for a bullish engulfing. Then we're gonna expect the market to go up. If we break this resistance, come back to test it, resistance turn into support, then we're also gonna look for a buying, a bullish engulfing here, right? Bear with me, right? this is this is what we're gonna look for. This is a break and retest strategy. This is we are looking for different things. We are saying this resistance can hold. Here we are saying it has been broken, now it's a support. We are saying this support can hold because it did held the price here. So it has broken, now it came back to test the same level. We are hoping that the market is gonna hold the price from here, then skyrocket, right? So what we're gonna do is, for all these, remember we have four of these, right? We're gonna look for an engulfing candle, we're gonna look for a railroad, we're gonna look for a morning star, then we're gonna look for a rejection candle. For now, we said we're gonna start with an engulfing candle. So I'm not gonna be specific in terms of marking support and resistance. You just have to maybe look at the previous video that I did to know how to mark those support and resistance in terms of trading with the weekly candlestick, right? Understanding how the weekly candlestick can be formed, right? So here, let's make an example with this, right? If you look at this point right here, the market tested this resistance. It created an engulfing candlestick around 3 a.m. Obviously, I must sleep around 3 a.m. I'm from South Africa. I trade the London and New York session, right? When I'm awake, I only trade when I'm awake. So I would have missed this, right? It could have been an entry that I missed. Then the markets came back up, created another engulfing candle. Why do we say this is an engulfing candle? Because this is a bearish engulfing candle. Why do we say that? Because it engulfs this candlestick, this bullish candlestick that's rejected, right? Because it engulfs this bullish candlestick. You can see it's opened here, then went all the way down and closed below this wick. It's an engulfing candlestick. It's engulfed this bullish candlestick with this. So you're gonna take this Then you're gonna take your entry depending on where you're gonna set your target. You're gonna set your target according to how you have tested this, right? On this video I'm only talking about candlesticks formation, right? So let's say you place this maybe below this retracement, right? Below this retracement, but of course a 1:5 RR, that's still a good entry. So if you held for an entire week and closed before the weekend, you could have caught a 1:3, which is still a decent risk to reward, a very good one for that matter, right? So you were selling at a resistance or a supply zone or a point of interest, whatever you may call it, it's one and the same thing, right? So we caught a 1:3 here. Let me make another example about selling, right? So if you pay close attention, we were here at a resistance, then the market created a bearish engulfing again, right? This is a supply or resistance, right? This is a supply or resistance. So what the market did was it created a bearish engulfing. You took your entry, you had a stop around here, then you place your take profit at a 1:, maybe let's say 1:3. You held for just a day, then you were able to catch a 1:3. Remember, it's the same thing. It's the supply or resistance. Why do we call this a resistance? Because it took out this low. Why do we call this a resistance? Because it took out this low. So there are various reasons we can call this a resistance, because this has been tested and it was not broken, because the market is failing to break this point. And when it's giving us this bearish engulfing, it's telling us that the market is refusing to break this point. So we could have taken a sell based on that. Again, same thing here. You know the saying that says that goes like this: a candlestick tells a story, right? So this candlestick is telling us that sellers have stepped in, right? This candlestick tells us that sellers are willing to sell the market at this price, right? So these are two examples of selling, right? So let's look at examples of buying, right? I'm gonna try to get this example around the same area, uh, let's say maybe around here, right? Let's say around here. This was a demand zone. Remember, supply at the top, it's a ceiling. Demand, it's the floor. Demand zone or support zone, right? So if you pay close attention, the market came back here, did an engulfing candle, but I'm asleep during that time. Did an engulfing candle. I'm already awake. It's 6 a.m. That's the time I wake. I wake up, right? I can take this buy, right? I can take this buy, right? I can take this buy. Took a buy. Place my stop behind, below. Place my stop below this engulfing candle. Then head for a day. Caught a 1:4 RR. Then I'm done. If I missed this entry, I could have taken this again. We are still at the same area, right? We are still at the same area, right? So around this time, what was this time? It was 8. I could have taken another buy here, right? We are still at a support zone. So an engulfing, boom, 1:4, close to 1:5. Actually, it's a 1:5. This one, yes, it's a 1:5 RR at a support zone, right? Let me continue just to make this example right more clear. We are at a support zone. The reason why I'm doing this, because this is a break and retest. I want to make an example about break and retest. So the market broke this resistance, then resistance turned into support. Pay close attention. We are looking for an engulfing candlestick. This is an engulfing candlestick. We are going up, right? Took this by place my stop below this, then I was able to catch almost a 1:2.5. Yes, a 1:2.5 was reached, because this is the beginning of resistance, I mean, right? So these entries are simple entries based on a simple strategy, right? But what you have to understand is that this alone cannot help you. You have to create a system that you can follow each and every time systematically, right? So let's head over to another pattern that we can look for, a railroad pattern, right? Around the same areas, right? Around the same areas, we look for a railroad pattern, right? Railroad pattern at support and resistance. At support and resistance, we're gonna look for a railroad pattern. A railroad pattern. A railroad pattern. I don't know where I can find a railroad pattern. Right. I'm looking for a railroad pattern. Where is the railroad pattern? There we go, but I don't know if we're gonna see resistance. Okay, don't have a resistance, but a railroad pattern, it's something like this, guys. It's something like this. Because this video can take too long if I'm gonna mark the support and resistance. A railroad pattern, it's something like this. Obviously, if we look back left in time, right? If we look back in time, there is a resistance around this area, right? There is a resistance. We just have to switch time frames, right? Then if you see this, you take your cell, you do the same thing, right? You do the same thing, you take your cell, you place it where there's a next support or a strong uh, demand, right? Quarter 1:3. After you saw a railroad pattern, right? Then again, let's do a bullish railroad pattern, right? Let's do this. This was a bearish one. Let's try to find a bullish railroad pattern, right? Let's try to find a bullish railroad pattern. These entries, they can be difficult to find these patterns, because now I'm just browsing through quickly. I'm trying to make this video not too long, so let's see if we can see a railroad pattern that's signaling a buy, so let's just talk about this one right here, right? It's almost a railroad pattern, it's the same thing, right? So obviously, if you look back in time, we have a support, right? We're too quickly to see the support here. This is the support. At the support, that's where you buy, right? So let's say we were to buy here. Let's see how many the rewards we would have caught. Let's see. We would have caught more than 1:2.5, right? Same thing, guys. Buying at a support or at a demand, selling at a resistance or at a supply zone. This is simple stuff, guys. I'm just sharing candlestick pattern on this video. So after a railroad, let's just head over to a rejection candlestick, right? Let's head over to a rejection candlestick, because I'm gonna spend more time looking for a morning star, right? Morning star or evening star. Let's just do this rejection candlestick, right? Because there's just someone who just walked in here, and we have to be busy about something, right? We are looking for a rejection now. A rejection, I said, at a supply, we look for a bearish rejection, right? Let's look at this. They are also called hanging man or a hammer, right? But let's just call it a rejection candlestick. So here at a supply, we saw this candle, it went up, rejected, then close bearish. So you take your entry here, you place your stop above, then you try to get as many pips as you can. You caught more than 1.5 RR, right? Depends on the strategy that you are using. Let's look for another one, right? Let's look for another one for buy, right? We're looking for a sell. Let's look for a buying pattern, right? At a different area, right? Not the area that we have tested. Here we go, right? I know this pattern, they you can see them often, right? They tend to appear more often than the other ones. So it's a rejection candle. Now we are buying. It has to be bullish. It has to tap on the support, or call it a demand zone. Then you are looking for the candlestick to change to become bullish. Then take your buy, right? So if you took this buy, you could have made more than 1:8, or if you held up until this area, a 1:3 RR was gonna be banged, right? A 1:3 RR was gonna be banged, right? So guys, I do have someone who I have to be busy with right here. So I think you guys were able to see an engulfing candlestick, bullish and bearish, a railroad pattern, then a rejection candlestick. A morning star is exactly like the railroad pattern. The only difference is that you have to look for a candlestick that's gonna be in between. It has to be very small, right? It has to be very small, something of this, like this sort, right? It was a a strong bullish candle. Then we had something like this, which was some sort of a rejection candle. Then we had an engulfing. So what we call a morning star, it's this. It's a morning star, right? So oh no, this is an evening star because it's happening at the top. Then a morning star, it's the inverse of this. It's happening below. So we have to have a bearish candlestick that was strong, then a small candlestick in between, then a bullish engulfing. That's just what it is, right? So I really don't have enough time to go through a morning star, but I hope this information was informative, right? I hope it was informative. You were able to grasp a thing or two. So see you guys on another one. Beauty of the beast. Let's kill the market.